Okay, hello everybody. This is week 10 lecture summary for bu1003 and bu1903. And this week we will cover two topics. First, we will open up the economy, looking at an open economy. In particular, we'll cover the concepts of nominal and the real exchange rate and the purchasing power parity as a theory of exchange rate determination. Then we will develop a model that we call aggregate supply, aggregate demand model that we can use to analyze the real economy. Okay, what is open economy? What is a closed economy? A closed economy is one that does not interact with other economies in the world. So there's no export, no trade, no capital flows. In contrast, an open economy is one that interacts freely with other economies around the world. So through two ways, the interaction occurs through two ways. First one is trade, buys and sells goods and services. The second one is financial assets, investment, capital flows. It buys and sells financial assets in the world financial market. So for example, Australian economy is a medium-sized open economy, imports and exports goods, relatively large quantities of goods and services. So what is exports? They are goods and services produced here but consumed elsewhere in the foreign countries. So when we are calculating GDP, we got to add this up. Imports, they are goods and services that are produced elsewhere in the foreign country and consumed domestically, consumed here. So when we are calculating GDP, we got to take away minus imports. The exports, it is the value of the nation's exports minus the value of imports. So we also call net export as trade balance. So if the export is negative, we call it trade deficit. If it is positive, then we call it trade surplus. And if it is zero, then we say the trade is balanced trade. There are several factors that can affect the export. For example, like preference, price, exchange rate. Okay, so let's trade. The interactions could also occur through flow of capitals or flow of financial resources. Net foreign investment refers to the purchase of foreign assets by domestic residents minus take away the purchase of domestic assets by foreign residents. For example, an Australian resident buys shares in British Telecom. So this is Australian resident buy foreign assets. So this purchase raises Australian net foreign investment. If a Japanese resident buys a bond issued by the Australian government, the purchase reduces Australian net foreign investment. So now it's a foreigner purchase domestic financial assets. And there are also a number of factors that can influence the net capital flow. For example, real interest rate, perceived economic and political risks in the government policy, etc. Okay, in international transactions, either it's trade or capital flows, they are influenced by international price. And the two most important international prices nominal exchange rate and real exchange rate. So what is nominal exchange rate? It's the rate at which a person can trade the currency of one country for the currency of another. For example, if you want to travel to the US to have a holiday, so you got to exchange your Australian dollar for the US dollar, and you go to the foreign exchange market, and there's an exchange rate there. It might say that 1 Australian dollar can exchange for 0.74 US dollar, and this is a nominal exchange rate. The nominal exchange rate can be expressed in two ways. One way is units of foreign currency per 1 Australian dollars. That's what I said before. It can also equivalently be stated in units of Australian dollars per 1 unit of foreign currency. For example, you can say that in order to exchange for 1 US dollar, you got to pay $1.35. All right. Sometimes it is that if there's $1, if 1 Australian dollar can exchange for more US dollar, rather than 0.74 US dollar, it can exchange for 0.8 US dollar. Now we say that Australian dollar appreciate. Equivalently, that means US dollar depreciate. So appreciation refers to an increase in the value of a currency as measured by the amount of foreign currency. In contrast, depreciation refers to a decrease in the value of a currency as measured by the amount of foreign currency it can buy. So if you want to have a holiday in the US and you find that Australian dollar appreciate, then now you should be happy because your Australian dollar in hand can exchange for more US dollar. And if it depreciate, you shouldn't be happy. All right, so that's nominal exchange rate. So nominal exchange rate are expressed currency for currency. You exchange Australian dollar for US dollar. Correspondingly, we can also express in terms of real goods and services. If you exchange 1 unit of Australian goods and services, how many units of US goods and services can you exchange for? And this is called real exchange rate. So say Australia, US. We know that in the foreign exchange market, say 1 Australian dollar can be exchanged for E US dollar. The price of goods and services in Australia is P Australian dollar per unit, and US suppose is P star US dollar per unit. So now, on the one hand, I can use this 1 Australian dollar to exchange for E US dollar. This is equivalent to say that I can exchange, if we think in terms of goods and service, I can use this 1 Australian dollar to buy 1 over P units of Australian goods. Equivalently, I can exchange this 1 Australian dollar for E US dollar and use E US dollar to buy goods and service in the US. So I can buy E over P star units. So now this, if we think in the real terms, this implies a real exchange rate. Essentially, it says that using 1 over P Australian units, I can exchange for E over P star US goods and service. And that's the same as saying 1 unit of Australian goods can exchange for R. We want to figure out what R is. R is the real exchange rate. R is what we call it real exchange rate. And the relationship here implies that R divided by 1 should be equal to this divided by this. E over P star divided by 1 over P rearrange the terms. So multiply both top and bottom by the price, and this cancels out with this. So it's equal to E multiplied by domestic price over foreign price. So that's the formula for the real exchange rate, or the relationship between real exchange rate and the nominal exchange rate. Okay, and similar to the nominal exchange rate, for real exchange rate, we can have a real appreciation or real depreciation. So if there's a real appreciation, then this means that if this increases, this means that one unit of Australian goods can exchange for more units of US goods. Or in other words, Australian goods become relatively more expensive. If there's a real depreciation, so now 1 unit of Australian goods can exchange for fewer units of US goods, or equivalently, the Australian goods become relatively cheaper. So now this real exchange rate, if become relatively expensive, more expensive. Real depreciation become relatively cheaper. Okay. So that's the real exchange rate. Okay. So you might wondering why 1 Australian dollar should exchange for 0.74 US dollar in the market. There's one theory that tries to explain this. It is called purchasing power parity. Or PPP. The idea here is that 1 Australian dollar should have the same purchasing power in US and Australia as in the US. So the exchange rate should be set such that this one Australian dollar has the same purchasing power. So the exchange rate, nominal exchange rate, should be such that 1 Australian dollar has the same purchasing power in Australia as in US. Okay, given this seems conceptually reasonable. Given this, so we have Australian, US. So the price in Australian is P. US price is P star US dollar per unit. So 1 Australian dollar exchange for E, and we want to figure out what E is. Okay, so 1 Australian dollar can buy, the purchasing power of 1 Australian dollar in Australia is 1 over P, can buy 1 over P units of goods. If you exchange this 1 Australian dollar for US dollar, you should have the same purchasing power. So you can purchase E over P star, and this should be equals, because this 1 Australian dollar should have the same purchasing power in 2 countries. So this implies E nominal rate is P star foreign price equal to domestic divided by domestic price, and this is called purchasing power parity. Okay, if PPP holds, then real exchange rate, which is nominal exchange rate multiplied by domestic price over foreign price, should be equal to 1. Okay, so that's the purchasing power parity. Okay, now we want to turn to the second topic. We want to develop the aggregate supply and aggregate demand models such that we can use and to analyze the real economy aggregate demand. So now we want to look at the economy from the angle of price and output. So or aggregate demand. Note that we know aggregate demand is composed of 4 components: C, consumption, investment, government spending. Government spending is the policy variable plus the export. So which is export minus import. Let me arbitrarily pick one point here, which means the economy is at point A here. Price level is PO, aggregate demand, output level is YO. Now let's say for some reason price goes down. What happened? Price drop. What happens to Y, the aggregate demand? Okay, first price drop. So now if overall price drops, now the money, the $100 in your pocket has more purchasing power, can buy more goods and services now. So now you become wealthy. More wealthy. Then you are going to consume more, right? Because your $100 has higher level of purchasing power than before, and this is called wealth effect. Secondly, if price drop, so now in the money market, we have this interest rate, money. We have money supply, vertical, money demand. So initially, the interest rate is this level. So now, because of price drops, so now people need to hold fewer money to handle their daily transaction now, because the price drop. So the demand curve will shift to the left, which means that interest rate drop. So interest rate drop. This means that the cost of investment remember, if you want to say build a bridge on the Ross Rivers, and you want to finance your project through bank loans, and you go to bank charge your interest rate, and now the interest rate drops, your cost drops. So investment, the second component of the aggregate demand, will increase. So this is called interest rate effect. Thirdly, when price drop, we know there is an interest rate decrease. The third effect we call the exchange rate effect. So interest rate decrease in Australia. That means investing in Australia is less attractive than before, So investor will respond by moving from Australia to the US. So they're going to sell Australian dollar, sell Australian dollar, sell a dollar for US dollar. So this means that the supply of Australian dollar increases. So Australian dollar depreciates. So together with the price drop, we see that the real exchange rate, which is E over multiplied by domestic price over foreign price. So this drops, this drops. So we see this drops, then real exchange rate drops. So there's real depreciation now. So this means that Australian goods become relatively cheaper. So this implies that export will goes up, import drop, namely the export increase. So a price decrease, we have three effects. This is exchange rate, effect. So back to the diagram, we see that the price increase cause the consumption to increase, investment to increase, the export to increase through exchange rate effect. So at point B, link all these points together, we derive the downward aggregate demand curve. So that's aggregate demand curve. And note that this aggregate demand curve looks quite similar to the demand curve in the microeconomics, where in the supply and demand diagram in microeconomics, but it has a different series behind. Okay, let's turn to the supply side, so which is aggregate supply side, so which is aggregate demand supply curve. So now here we distinguish between long run and short run. So in the long run, the aggregate supply or the output that an economy can produce depends on the factor endowment, the number of workers, the amount of physical capital and human capital, the amount of natural resources and the technology. It does not depend on price. So it's vertical, long aggregate supply curve. And we call this natural labor output. You should know that even if the economy is in the long run levels, it's at the natural labor output, we still have an unemployment rate. So the associated unemployment rate is called natural rate of unemployment. It is natural because we cannot eliminate it. So that's the long run. And the short run, let me arbitrarily pick up, say 1. Initially, price level is PO, aggregate price YO, so let's point A. So now let's say what happened. What will happen if price increases? if price increases. There are three theories here. First one is misperception theory. Basically, it says that now firms observe that overall price increases. Everybody's goods and service, the price of every firm's goods and service double, suppose. However, I, as the banana suppliers, as the farmers that produce bananas, I might wrongly think that the price for banana increase more than the increase in the price of apple or price of other fruit. In these cases, I'm going to respond by increasing the supply of banana. And this misperception might occur to other firms as well. So in the end, the aggregate supply increases. So firms wrongly think their price increase more than the overall price. They are going to respond by increase the aggregate supply. Aggregate supply increases. Okay, second theory is Keynesian sticky wedge theory. So now it says that price increases. On the one hand, if I'm the firm, on the one hand, the prices for my goods and service increases. On the other hand, wage rate is fixed by the contract. I have a contract with you that says that the wage rate is $10 per hour for the next 2 years. So wage rate is fixed. Given this, profit margin goes up. So I'm going to respond. Firms respond by increasing aggregate supply. Firms respond by increasing their supply, and all firms do so. Aggregate supply increases. So that's Keynesian sticky wedge theory. Third theory is sticky price. New Keynesian sticky price. It says that price increases, overall price increases. However, some prices might not changes or constant, because there's some the prices of some goods might not adjust accordingly, because there's a cost associated with adjusting the price. So this implies that supply of these goods increases, and then the aggregate supply increases. Okay, so these three theories says that when there's a price increases, in the short run, aggregate supply will increases. So we are the point B. Link all these points together, we get an upward aggregate supply curve. Okay, so now we have aggregate demand side, aggregate demand. We have supply side, aggregate supply. Let's put them together. So P Y aggregate demand, aggregate supply, short run aggregate supply, long run aggregate supply. The equilibrium is at point E. So output is at the natural level output, price is at this level. And note that similar to the demand curve and supply curve in the microeconomics, these aggregate demand, aggregate supply curves, they can shift as well. Any other factors that affect aggregate supply, aggregate demand, other than price, will cause the curve to shift. For example, say government increase spending, so aggregate demand curve shift to the, so this Y is equal to aggregate demand C plus I plus G plus net export. If this increases, so if government spending increases, so at every price level, the aggregate demand will increases. So this aggregate demand curve shift to the right. It could move from E to F. And we see the price goes up, output increases. All right, that's all for this week.